Hey folks, David Stewart here. Let's talk a little bit about potty games. These are not games that you play with your potty, but rather games that you play upon your potty. These are mobile games, and I would like to introduce you to the idea of playing a lot of the more popular mobile games in a different way from the way that you normally play games. When we're playing a full-featured real game for a console or a PC, we tend to sit down and invest a certain chunk of time playing it for the experience of playing the game. You may clear an hour out of your day, which is what I do, or 30 minutes, or maybe you crack out and play for multiple hours. This is not how you should play most of these mobile games. And in fact, most of the mobile games, despite their, shall we say, aggressive monetization strategies, are games that you really don't have to spend money on if you approach them the right way, which is what I call the potty approach. That is to say, you only play these sorts of games, the games that ask you to pay money to unlock chests, pay money to accelerate the growth of whatever little thing you're doing on your phone, pay money to pull more guys out of a gacha system. These are games that are best played in short bursts, not long play sessions. In other words, when you are sitting upon the potty, or when you're otherwise engaged for a very short amount of time, like if you're waiting to get into Costco, or you're waiting to buy your food at Costco, or you're waiting to get out of Costco. That's a prime time to pull open your phone, open up that little gacha game, play through a couple maps, do a couple of little battles, and then move on with your life. And if you approach these games in a way that they are very casual, that they're meant to fill boredom spaces in your day, then you will not end up in the trap of wanting to spend large amounts of money to engage with their gacha systems or to accelerate the time that it takes to actually complete something in the game. Now, this plays partially into the hands of these mobile game developers because one of their strategies for getting people to spend money on the game is to make the game part of the daily routine. Make it a habit. Make it an addiction if you can. And so if you are pulling out your phone whenever you're bored and playing a game, which is not necessarily something you should do. You should not be trying to fill every single moment in your day with something that isn't boring. But like I said, if you're sitting upon the potty, then it's probably okay to whip out your phone and play a little bit of a game. So this is doing a little bit what they want you to do by habitually engaging in the game. However, if you're only limiting your game time to those dead moments, those moments where you are unexpectedly waiting in line or you're using the bathroom once or twice a day, then you probably aren't going to be engaging in the game enough to where you are going to feel that deep compulsion to fork over cash, to open more card packs, or pull more guys in a gacha. You're just not really going to feel super compelled to do that because you don't play the game enough. So I think part of the perception of mobile games being cancer has to do with our comparisons. We are comparing this mobile experience, which is really just best done in short bursts, small little chunks of time here and there. We're comparing that to a really full-featured experience where we're sitting down on the couch, playing on a console, or playing through a robust and fully featured story that you may have paid $60 to engage with. Of course, if you're making that comparison, then mobile games are not going to hold up. But mobile games on this device in your pocket with no buttons can't produce that same experience really at all. It's going to be next to impossible to reproduce the full experience of a PC or a console game in your pocket. Now, in the future, I'll go over some ports from a number of console and handheld games to the mobile environment that I think are really well done and are really worth playing. In fact, I think they're probably better than the standard mobile game that you buy, which is, quote, free to play. But that's a little bit of a different discussion. For the purposes of this discussion, let's just say that mobile games can be a very good experience if you understand what they're doing, if you interact with them in a way in which they are enjoyable and you are not going to feel the compulsion to spend money on them, and if the mobile games are designed in such a way that you can actually operate them without having to use physical controls, and the gameplay is matched to the standard in which you are using it on. And I think some of the most popular mobile games actually do their interface, do their gameplay, at least on the micro level, very well. This is why they're popular. This is why they're able to make a lot of money. But if we're comparing it to an actual full-featured experience, no, it's really not going to hold up at all. With proper interaction, with proper understanding of the game, mobile games actually can deliver a good entertainment value. But let's not forget that the monetization strategy of a game always affects its gameplay. And one of the reasons that mobile games right now, at least the most popular ones, are not delivering an experience that is comparable even to a game played on the 3DS. We're talking a similarly small form factor staring at a screen in front of your face. One of the reasons that it does not conform to the quality of a 3DS game is because of the monetization strategies that they are using. They could do something like ads, which are a little bit annoying, but they don't otherwise disrupt most of the gameplay elements present. Or they could do what most companies do if they really want to make money. They gate the content behind some sort of transaction. They either force you to pay in order to have access to whatever higher level of gameplay is interesting to you, or they make it such a slog to do it without paying, collecting gotchas or something like that, that you're going to feel highly compelled to fork over money in order to have access to that. It's not just the packs of cards that you buy in Hearthstone, it's that you need the cards that are in those packs in order to compete at the higher levels. In order to up your level of competition, you got to buy those packs. That means you're going to want to fork over the dough to do it. You don't want to wait weeks and weeks worth of doing quests to collect those packs. You're going to want to fork over the money. However, if you're just playing Hearthstone 1 match a day, maybe 2 matches a day, then you're really not going to feel that strong compulsion to fork over $80 for 50 packs or whatever it's going to be in order to get the cards that you need to get out of Bronze League or whatever they're doing now, get into Silver League, get into Gold League, access those highest levels of competition. That is a type of content gate. So that need to collect money on the back end really does affect the gameplay all the way through a given game. And in fact, games are designed around how they are going to make money. If you design a game around charging $60 upfront and giving a consumer a complete game, that is fundamentally a different strategy towards gameplay than giving a game for free to a player, asking them to play a little bit, and then asking them for money to get onto the next part of the game that interests them, to get them hooked on the game, get them desiring to access those higher levels, than to trade money to do it. A full-priced game, by contrast, actually operates on much longer-term goals. We want to convince the consumer to buy the game, but then the business is not done. We need to deliver them a game that they like because we want them to buy the next game in the series. We want them to buy the next game from the same developer or the same publisher. There's a longer-term strategy involved, and this is the strategy really that I employ as an author. I write a book. I want that book to be really good. When people buy it, if I convince them to buy it, I want them to feel satisfied by reading the book. I want them to leave a review, which helps me sell more books. But I also want them to like me as an author, enjoy my writing, and perhaps buy the next book that I come out with. That's really what I want. And the classic approach to game development, where you have a studio come out with a game, it's $60 or $50 or however much it is. The consumer buys it. They really enjoy it. They say, this is a great game. They maybe tell their friends to buy it. But more importantly, they buy the next game in the series. They liked God of War. They buy God of War 2. They buy God of War 3. They buy God of War, the next God of War game, and continue buying games from the studio until really they start to get bad games. It's a much longer term strategy and requires a lot more quality product. It requires a quality product that delivers a satisfying experience and an experience that actually has an end to it. This is the other thing. If you have a $60 game, there's no reason to provide an experience that is infinite because you're not going to be monetizing an infinite experience. If you're providing an infinite experience for free, you're really just throwing your money away. No one would want to do that. And I'm aware there's still Diablo 3 servers up and you don't have to pay for those. But that's part of the longer term strategy. They want people to buy the next Diablo game, buy the next expansion, or they came out with a Necromancer character a while back, buy the next character class that they decide to enter into the game. You're trying to foster goodwill, and by fostering goodwill, you're going to sell products down the line. You're going to sell products into the future. It's much more about brand management. It's much more about the relationship you have with your customers and less about trying to milk whales and milk as many people for as many different little micro amounts of money as possible in order to turn a profit. So contrasting these two approaches to game design, we yield two different approaches to actually playing the games. One in which you sit down and enjoy the game, play it for a long period of time, and come away feeling good. The other one, you just play when you're on the potty. Those are the two different approaches to playing games. Now, that's not to say mobile games could never deliver a substantial experience. I absolutely think they can. But I think for whatever reason, the market and the way that consumers buying phones, many of which are maybe non-gamers in the traditional sense, they're not people who play a lot of console and PC games. I think that that market has really pushed the free-to-play game because of competition in the storefront. You look at the storefront, there's a $10 game, even a game I can recommend. You can get Knights of the Old Republic still for your Android phone. I tested it this morning. It runs beautifully. This is an experience that is completely worth, I think, the $10 that they sell it for. They also sell Final Fantasy Tactics for $10. Both of these games are top 10 games of all time for me, and you can get them for less than $10. And for that $10, you are given a fully featured, fully developed, satisfying, amazing experience of a game. But if you're a regular consumer looking at the storefront and you don't know what those games are, those are $10 games. But Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, well, that's free. Why would I pay $10 for Final Fantasy Tactics when I could play War of the Visions, which I guess is kind of similar to Final Fantasy Tactics, but it's free? So that's one of the things that we're up against. We have these things because consumers consistently will choose the cheapest product, or they'll choose a free game because there's no upfront cost to them. And then we wonder why we're always unsatisfied, why we never get a full story in the games, why we flush money down the toilet and we're upset about it because we want to quit the game later on, or how we get maybe addicted to a game to where we can't stop playing the game. We keep playing Hearthstone years after it stopped being fun. We keep pushing money into the game. We can stop doing all that. You have to understand these games are potty games. And you also have to, if the option is available, we need more people to choose full-featured games for their mobile device if they're going to choose them. And frankly, you need a lot more developers to take risks and sell games that have a single price for a single experience, that use the controls of a phone properly. That's another thing that you're up against with mobile games, is that you don't have physical buttons, which means you can't really put a 3D shooter up on your phone and expect it to do well unless you are requiring people to use a gamepad. You can't really expect people to have a full-featured Mario experience on their phone when you don't have that tactile feel of a button giving you all of the feedback necessary to navigate your environment in a highly dexterous manner. At some point, I hope that the free-to-play strategy has a big crash. People stop buying into it. And then we can get back to making good games, and we can look at the phone device that we have in our pockets as more than just something to fill the time when we're on the potty, but rather something that we could use to actually have a good gaming experience. So thanks so much for listening to this, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Please leave me your comments down below and what you think about mobile games and the possibility of enjoying them as they are now, as well as enjoying them hopefully in the future when game design starts to return back to its more classic roots. And I will see you guys next time. Links are down in the description for the newest books. The newest book is called The Keys to Prolific Creativity. It's all about developing a great creative process and coming out with a lot of outputs for you creative types. So thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.